So yeah, a lot of you guys asked for a video of how I'll make these, and I figured, what the heck. This is a standard one. I found an aluminium one that I've been using before. I used this one to practice molding before, so I've done a couple of them on this already. I don't know if you can see, but it's scraped, and I'm gonna have to clean that off a bit. It's kind of tricky because, in spite of what people think, this shit actually adheres like glue. So yeah, even on bare aluminum, it's really sticky. So what I'm using is, I've been having this tube for a couple of years now, so it's yeah, I've done a couple of hundreds of these damper mods with this tube, so it's starting to clog up, and yeah. So first off, let's just scrape this one off. I'm gonna need some shrink. So yeah, protecting the solid nozzle is really important, because otherwise we will screw up the sealant between the nozzle and the tube. I mean, it's not Greek really, pretty much something straightforward. So I'm using a cheap, crappy screwdriver, and I'm not applying much force at all to this, and it doesn't have to center perfectly. I mean, it's not rocket science. You just make sure it's clean and kind of scuffed up, and just here I have some chemical cleaning for electronics, and I mean, there's really not much else to it. I mean, just make sure it's fairly clean, and you don't have a lot of grease or oil or anything on it, and you'll be fine. Remove this. Just gonna clean my fingers a bit. I mean, it's not rocket science. Just make sure you're fairly clean. Just there we go. Nothing fancy, just a decent amount of. You can always remove. I mean, I usually say that it's better to add a lot in the beginning so that you can remove, rather than having to add afterwards, because when you put saliva on, and I mean, it becomes kind of layered, so we don't want that. Just wet your finger. So you can see right now I have an excessive amount of silicone, and I don't need that. But I'll tend to that in a while. Just what happens is I'm pushing it off to the side, because it's easier to scrape off when I have when my finger touches the edge here. it kind of divides it. So the leftovers that sticks on the O-rings and stuff, it's easy to get off in one piece afterwards, and it's not really attached anymore to the actual mold in the middle. We're starting to get there. I mean, it's really easy to work with, and as you can see, there's hardly any bubbles in it, and this will work just great. One thing to think about is that when using this, it takes about a week or so, and it will compress a little bit from its regular state. I mean, but once it has done that, it takes about a week with spring tension on it. It kind of stays there. I noticed that with my sniper, and it's an M170 spring in that one. I've alternated a bit between 150 to 170 spring, and what I've noticed is that shortly after I first put this one in, I saw it has shrunk a bit, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe it actually does compress. But after a while, I realized that it doesn't compress anymore. So it compressed about a millimeter or so, so take that into your calculations when you are port matching for your barrel. So yeah, I'm gonna try something here that I haven't tried before. I'm gonna try and use something to actually work my way down to the center hole, and not quite sure what that would be, but I'm guessing maybe a screwdriver. Yeah, so that worked out neatly. I'm gonna widen it a bit, because usually when I stamp a hole, I add a millimeter or two to make sure that when the material swells into the hole, it doesn't cramp up or clogs the hole. So nah, not happy with it. So what we do then is just remove everything, and we're scraping out as much as possible. There we go. Let's fire away. There we go. Pretty happy with this one. So that's really how easy it is. And if you're not happy with the mold, just scrap it, start over from the beginning, and make sure that you're really happy with the mold before you let it sit to cure, because a decent mold will do everything. I mean, making sure that you really get the silicone in the base, in the bottom. And when you're applying silicone, make sure you press it against the surface and let it swell. Don't try to, when it's rotating or anything. Just make sure you go close, you squeeze it out there and make it swell. And then you just pull it off and scrape it off to the side. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered or anything like that. Just make sure you get a good amount on there and you do it in one squeeze. And you're set. This is really how easy it is. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be extremely centered, because first of all, the skin on this will cure. So it will still be able to be molded and shaped a bit in a couple of hours. If you think that it's not really level or straight and I want to push it on, you can still work with your fingers when the inner parts is still gooey. So it's actually a really forgiving material to work with. As you can see here, it's not perfectly straight, but I'm not going to bother with that, because I will be able to fix that when a couple of hours has passed. So yeah, I think we're good off. I'm happy with this. The gun will be happy with it, and I will have decent amount of angle of engagement fixed, and yeah, so yeah, I'm happy with that.